Welcome back, everybody, to the New England Golf Radio Show. Chris has got some beats on there for us today. What is that, Chris?
That was Bun B with Lil Wayne. That's just the instrumental.
The Bun B with Lil Wayne. I like that. Coming back. We got Drew Kayser on the phone. Kayser Performance Institute in Southborough, Massachusetts. Drew is a master PGA professional, as we talked about the first time we had him on. Has one of the coolest Twitter names in the game out there, right, Chris? You remember what that is?
The email address, whatever it was.
PGA Tour Swing Doctor.
Doesn't get much better than that.
Does it get any better than that? I don't think it does. Drew, how you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you, JJ? Hey, Chris.
Hey, what's going on, Drew?
We are doing great. We are just working through this first segment. We talked a lot about the TPC. We talked a little bit about David Toms and his disastrous putt there on the last hole. But what's going on with you and your Performance Institute down there? I know you're just getting it started. How are things going down there? Have you had anybody come in? Have you fixed anybody up lately? Tell me a little bit about what you're doing down there.
Definitely. We're cranking it up and teaching every day. We have clinics and junior golf camps on the schedule, so we're getting things ready and just it's day to day, and new students are coming in, and it's been great.
Excellent. Now, you got a lot of new students coming in, I know, because you just opened up, which is awesome. I know you got a great facility down there. I looked it up online. It's at it's in Southborough. It looks amazing. Now, what are some of the common flaws that students are coming to you with? And if there are a few, what are the most common things that guys or gals or juniors or whoever are having issues with within their golf game?
I mean, the variety of flaws, basically scan the spectrum, but you see the flaws I see start with how the player's set up, and a lot of it can be corrected from a beginning golfer. What do we teach beginning golfers? We teach them, how to set up, how to hold the club, basic stance setup, kind of the PGA alignment, grip, and posture. But all the way up to the better player, the single digits, the tour players, it really stems back to those kind of fundamentals of the game. How are they setting up? And, a lot of the players, are hitting, we'll say, slices or cuts just because they're set up with a crummy grip. How they hold the handle isn't correct, and their alignment's off, or their ball position's off. So everything kind of can go back to those setup processes, how they are actually setting up to hit the ball. Is the face a little bit open? Is their alignment a little bit open? Is it closed? So it all stems back to right from the start, before they even hit the ball.
Right, and that's a great point that you just brought up, and it's something that I just, within the last year and a half, noticed in my golf game. Somebody started talking to me about setup and how things needed to be aligned, and I really try to concentrate on that when I play or when I hit balls, and I noticed that from day to day my setup will change, and I ask myself, how does that happen? How can I not be aligned in the same way every day? What did I do to my body that allows me to have my shoulders a little bit open, or my shoulders a little bit closed, or to have my eye line a little bit off so that I'm aiming to the left or I'm aiming to the right, and then trying to make those compensations? It really is an interesting thing for you people out there to focus on when you're playing golf or when you're hitting balls. Focus on your setup. See where you are. Are you a little bit open? Are you a little bit closed? And if you are, try to make those adjustments. Now, Drew, being the master PGA professional that he is, I know he's got a tip lined up for us to help us figure out how to make sure we're aligned, or maybe a few drills even that we could do inside that would allow us to know that we have the proper alignment. And explain a little bit about what proper alignment is so everybody knows what we're talking about out there.
Well, JJ, let's kind of backtrack. It's funny you said that you feel the same things in your game, because like I said, it happens across the spectrum. And an old boss of mine that taught a lot of tour players, and the guys would go over kind of end of the summer and play the Scottish Open, and then they'd play the British Open, and they'd come back and they'd be hitting these low hooks. And it's like, of course they're going to be hitting low hooks because they've been playing into the wind, so their posture changed, their ball position inch back, and they're smothering the ball and covering it with a closed face. So it came back. Even the best of the best have to readjust. And a lot of what I do with my students is, obviously with video analysis, I show them, from lesson to lesson where they are, where we want to go, and we kind of keep we keep kind of the steps going to make sure that they keep in their alignment. But what I say to them when they get to the golf course or prior to going to the golf course is, simple thing is use a mirror. Look at your alignment. Using a mirror, or look at your setup. Are your joints stacked? Meaning, are your shoulders over your hips? Are your hips over your knees?
Right.
Are your knees over your heels? Things like that. Are you leaning left? Or are you leaning right? But as far as alignment, proper alignment would be for a right-hander. A lot of instructors and books and magazines will talk about parallel left. Just make sure your shoulders. It all comes down to where your shoulders are aligned, because your arms, hands, and the club are going to follow your shoulders. So essentially, your hips, knees, and feet are somewhat irrelevant. You know, a lot of people and instructors will talk about you have to get everything parallel left, so that the lines of your body lines are aimed parallel to your target line. But essentially it comes down to where are your shoulders aiming, because that's where the club face is going to be going. That's where the club is going to be swinging.
Right, and that's something that I learned just recently. And trying to hit a little draw in my game, I always close my shoulders and then snap it real quick and hit it dead left. But we don't need to worry about my game. We'll talk about that another time when I come down to see you. And you know what? An interesting thing that you mentioned there, and that I want to point out to our listeners, is the video analysis. Now, I've been recently just been researching some people online who do video analysis and been checking out different teachers that use it. And it's something that you just mentioned and said you use. And how valuable do you feel video analysis is? Because I know a lot of people out there think that it's really, really valuable in helping people improve on a day-to-day or week-to-week basis.
I think it's essential for an instructor to see, from my point of view, to see some of the things that are going on in the swing. Because, you know, as many golf swings that I've seen over the years, you know, my eyes are pretty trained to kind of track different motions, but I can't see everything. I mean, the swing from the top of the backswing to impact can be a third of a second or even less.
Right.
So I don't know exactly what's going on, and I can't exactly see the plane in the path, but you know, I have a general sense. But it also it's crucial for a lot of players, because most individuals are visual learners. They learn by seeing. You know, about 85% of students or golfers learn by seeing. That doesn't mean they don't learn in other ways, but actually helping them to see it visually, whether it's in video analysis or a mirror or, you know, some pictures or something, a diagram, it's going to help them, you know, basically kind of expedite that learning process and move along, become a better player.
Right. So, and I totally agree. I videotaped my swing a few times and looked at it and said, oh my God, that doesn't look anything like what I imagined. I thought my swing looked just like, well, not Tiger's right now, but Luke Donald's right now. I thought that's exactly what it looked like. And when you look at it on a video, you can see that's not quite what it looks like. Another important point to bring up with everybody listening out there is that you can't just grab a video camera, throw it to your buddy, and say, hey, tape my swing. There's a certain process that you have to go through to make sure you tape the swing correctly. Am I right, Drew?
There definitely is, and there are different ways. I mean, obviously, there are different angles you can use. The down the line would be, you know, from behind down the target line, and some instructors put the camera or instructors put it in different spots. You know, like a Jim McLean puts it on the actual target line so he can monitor club face, so he can see where the ball starts.
Right.
You know, the way I was trained under kind of Ledbetter philosophy was to put it on the hand line, or the butt end of the grip, which is basically the hand line. So it's parallel to the target line, but on the hand line to see the swing plane. But, you know, just putting a camera in different spots is not going to be useful, because it's going to give you the wrong information.
Right.
You have to make sure you know what you're looking for and put the camera there in the right spot to get that information.
Right, you're going to get some distorted angles, or if it's not a
Correct.
still camera, you're never really going to be able to tell whether you're standing up or you're lowering or all those different things. And if you're listening and you have no idea what we're talking about, that's why you need to go see Drew, because he does, and he has the camera, he has the equipment. You don't have to do anything but grab a golf club and swing. He can record it. He can look at it. He can, I'm sure, plug it into what the V1 software. Is that what you use down there, Drew?
I use V1.
Right.
V1's it's excellent, yeah.
Yeah, V1 software allows you to draw all the lines like you see that they do on TV, figure out your posture, figure out if you're standing up, if you're lowering, look at your swing plane, all those great things that some of you may have no idea about. Drew understands them because he is the PGA Tour swing doctor, so he understands what's going on. So that's another reason why you need to go see him. Great tip for us, alignment, find out where your shoulders are in relation to your body. Make sure you get your shoulders over your feet. Check that every single time you set up to the ball. And can you just practice that in your house, Drew, like you said, in front of a mirror? Will that help you? And if it will, how many times would you suggest you do that a day?
JD, I think anytime you put yourself, I mean, again, we talk about visual learners. Most individuals will learn visually. So putting yourself in front of a mirror, just like you putting yourself on a camera or videotaping your swing, it's like, oh, that's how I look. It's totally different from what you perceived. It's that perception versus reality thing.
Sure.
So if you just stand in front of a mirror and get in your golf posture, you can really see, am I slanted one way? And a lot of that will be determined by, is your ball positioned to your left, toward your left foot? Is it toward your right foot? So yeah, you can. Obviously, you'd want to practice as much as possible, but, a couple times a day, a few minutes a day. It could be while you're brushing your teeth. That's what I tell a lot of my students. I'd say, brush your teeth and get in front of the mirror and look, see where your hips are. People stand differently and they'll favor different sides because of kind of deficiencies in their body or muscles. Maybe they lean a little left when they stand normally. Well, I bet in the golf swing they're probably going to lean a little left. So they just have to monitor those things.
Right, and so that's another great thing while you're brushing your teeth. I'm sure the juniors love that one. You get a solid 2 minutes of looking at yourself in the mirror while you're brushing your teeth just to see if your body's aligned. So there you go. There's your physical tip from Drew. Make sure your alignment is correct. Check it on a regular basis. Practice your setup in your house in front of a mirror and take a look. You get an idea. Are you leaning left? Are you open? Are you closed? And all those certain things, and then you'll start to figure out how they affect the way that you hit the ball. Now, Drew, I got to ask you a question about the mental side of the game. Now, watching the TPC last week at Sawgrass, I was totally heartbroken to see David Toms miss that 3-footer on 17 in the playoff. I don't know if you had a chance to see it, but it was a terrible thing to watch. It was like watching a car crash on TV, something you don't want to watch, but you kind of have to watch. If you were coaching David and he missed that 3-footer to win that playoff and lost the golf tournament, is there any sort of mental advice you could provide him with moving forward?
Moving forward, he's playing really well this week. He's just jumped right back onto the horse, and he's just continuing with his game. And those guys are trained so well that, a shot's a shot. And you know what? I don't think he missed anything under 5 feet that whole week until that 3-footer.
No, he didn't.
So it was a little bit of a shocker to him, but you know what? Those guys, they missed too, even the short ones. And he's done a good job of kind of getting past it and look, it was just another golf shot. It's part of the game. Luckily, he's 44 years old and has been through the ropes, but I think
sure.
Something that if that happened to a 24-year-old, I think it would have had a different effect on the individual. But you just have to play the game shot to shot, hole to hole, round to round. I talk with my students a lot and college players about utilizing kind of a 3-hole concept. Try to go out there and have 6 3-hole rounds so that you can mentally prepare. Finish the first 3 holes and try to set a goal for those 3 holes.
Right.
Then do the next 3. But, David Toms, he did an excellent job of kind of coming through, and he's playing well. And, it's just another shot. And those guys understand that. And the ones the gentlemen, the players that get bogged down with missing something like that, maybe they're not as mentally strong. And David Toms has done a great job of kind of powering through and realizing that, you know what, it's just another shot. This is a game. And he's dedicated to improving, and he's taking that as a real learning experience that, you know, when it comes down to it, and he's been out of the hunt for so long, maybe he needs to work on those 3-footers a little bit with a little
That's
bit more
right.
pressure.
Who doesn't need to work on those 3-footers? And that's great advice. And, you know, move on. And amateurs can take a lot from that. I'm glad to hear that you talk with your players about that kind of mentality, because you see people get hung up. They hit a bad drive, they miss a putt, and it destroys their whole round. I also like the concept you just mentioned, is playing those 3-hole rounds. I'm going to try that because I have an issue with the 9 holes. I typically segment my round in 9 holes and sort of say, okay, that 9 holes is over. Let's start the next. I'm going to try the 3 when I get out next time to play, whether it be raining, thunderstorm, or whatever it is. I'm going to try that out and certainly see how that works for me. And another point on David Toms, great to see him do the interview after with Golf Channel. He didn't run away and hide. He didn't go get in his car and drive straight to the local establishment and drown his sorrows. He did the interview with Golf Channel, had sort of a smile on his face.
There's nothing wrong with drowning your sorrows.
No, nothing wrong with that, but do the interview first. I'm sure he was there after that, but he did the interview first, which is great to see. So that's Drew Kayser, Kayser Performance Institute in Southborough. If you type in Kayser Performance Institute on the internet, you will find it. Again, we will put that up on our Facebook. We'll put it up on Twitter. PGA Tour Swing Doctor, one of the baddest Twitter names out there. Drew Kayser, Master Professional, thanks for being on with us, and we look forward to having you on again. When we come back, we're going to talk about David Toms' performance in the Crown Plaza Invitational this week, and we'll talk about where he's at, and we'll talk a little bit more about his mental state right here on WGAM.
You ever want to rap or anything? You know, just talk or just, you know, get weird with somebody. You know, buddies for life.